Hey everybody, I am AR Mar, and what I watched today is Book 2, Chapter 9 of Avatar The Last Airbender, Bitter Work. We start off this episode with Toph and Aang, much to Sokka's annoyance, deciding to get an early start on Aang's earthbending lessons, with Toph promising to be extra quiet before launching Sokka into the air. Really great and really funny way to start off the episode. As usual, they're starting off on a good note, getting us drawn in and really, making it fun for us. Aang's first earthbending attempt sends him flying into Appa as not so much the rock moves as Aang moves violently. Sokka muttering a great line here. I mean, he usually gets a lot of great lines. Rock beats airbender. Definitely a different meaning to rock, paper, scissors, eh? From there, we switch to Iroh having a dream about his past, his dead son, and then, he comes to and he finds Zuko kind of tending to him. Zuko gives him some tea, kind of trying to be, taking care of his uncle, and, it's like, I tried to make it just the way you like it, and, oh god, Iroh, you can tell from his face, this is really badly made tea, but he tries to be nice to Zuko, he's like, it's good, it's bracing. And then he throws his next cup out the window when Zuko isn't looking. Which, that seems to be, that's a trope by now. People, they don't like the drink, so they toss it casually out the window or into a plant or something when the other guy's not looking. But it's done to great effect here. Iroh cares enough about Zuko that he's not going to, even though he loves tea, he's not going to be a jerk about it and try and upset Zuko or be particularly critical right now, especially because he can tell how much of an effect his injury is having on Zuko, how worried the guy is. And that is it's another beautiful just point to how much Iroh cares about him. And Zuko says he needs to train some more, he needs to be prepared to fight Azula again. And even says I know you're going to say she's my sister and I should get along with her. And I just love how Iroh responds right there. He's like, no, she's crazy and needs to go down. And I'm like, yeah, Iroh might be a nice guy, but he is practical. And he's like, no, Azula is a crazy little witch. She needs to go down. Then we get a bit of a training montage that's really hard to describe, but it's basically Toph trying to teach Aang with this really hard line, rough style that works perfectly with her personality. And well, earthbending in general is a very it's not like waterbending that flows and conforms and whatnot. Earthbending is like the earth itself, rigid and strong, tough. And that's how Toph tries to teach Aang. The whole time Katara's going oh, you should be a little softer with him. You should provide positive reinforcement and try to help him take things at his pace. But, Toph knows what it takes to bend the earth itself. It's not like waterbending. While Aang does need a certain gentle hand to help guide him, he is still young. He needs to tap into that, that strength, that steadiness that is required to move the earth. And I also like the contrast because, not every teacher is the same, and Toph has her own style. I mean, I get that Katara's trying to help, but really, and I do Toph sticks to her guns, and it is, a really fun sequence to watch this training montage. Near the end of the top montage, we skip to Sokka hunting this adorable, it sort of looked at first glance, this sort of hippo cow thing. And, so I was saying, you're cute, but I'm sorry, you're made of meat. He's foiled in his hunting attempt by cracks in the ground that I'm going to assume these were caused by Toph and Aang moving so much earth nearby. Because, it doesn't seem like there's any crack there, and then when he jumps, the crack opens up and widens a little to let him sink further in. And, this is basically Sokka's comedy side plot for the episode. We switch right back to Iroh and Zuko, and Iroh is explaining how, lightning is part of firebending. Giving us an explanation, it's how can Azula, pull out these crazy lightning moves from firebending? He says, it is a pure expression of firebending, without aggression. It is not fueled by rage or emotion like other firebending. Some call lightning the cold-blooded fire. Because apparently, in order to, like, you need to be completely at peace to create lightning as a firebender. You need to be at peace with yourself. And it's created by taking the positive, negative, and energy in the world, which he represents with yin and yang, and forcing them apart. Then, like how magnets try to force themselves back together, you take the energy of the two charges forcing themselves back together, and then give it a channel for release through your own body. And I thought that was, like, I really loved this explanation of it. Delving deeper into the philosophy, giving us a bit more of, like, a mechanical explanation of how this world works, what its rules are. It really was, like, it really made it feel a bit more real. We go back to Aang's earthbending training, and Toph is, like, going, okay, well, instead of trying to move a rock, how about you try to stop a rock? Aang sort of chickens out on this one. He dodges it. His instincts as an earthbender are in direct opposition with what Toph's telling him. To stand there and face the challenge head on and not back down. Whereas Aang's style and everything he's, like, grown up with has said, flow around obstacles, dodge them. But, Toph is saying, like, no, stand strong. Do not move. Be the mountain. And I can totally understand why Aang is having so much trouble with this. It's kind of fun to see, like, the natural avatar struggling to, like, grasp this concept. And then we go to Zuko, and he too is struggling and failing to master lightning because he can't let go of his rage, his shame. He can't attain that inner quiet that is required for the lightning to flow. Iroh redirects Zuko's energy. Like, he knows he's getting frustrated, so he goes, like, well, how about I teach you another technique in the meantime? To, like, help him, help get his mind off of the frustration he's feeling. And that's a great thing. Like, Iroh sees that, like, if Zuko just keeps trying and getting frustrated like this, he's gonna go on like, some destructive path where he's gonna hurt himself. But by redirecting his energy, he teaches Zuko a defensive move that he can use and make something really productive out of it. This is really, like, another one of those spots where I feel like Iroh is more Zuko's father than his birth father could ever be. And it really, like, it really brings up the whole idea that to Iroh, Zuko is like a replacement for the son he lost. And, it's like in this season they're really getting into it and fleshing it out, whereas last season we didn't get much of it. But if you look back, you really see it shining through in a lot of how Iroh acts and how he looks out for Zuko. And that is just, like, beautiful. It is a really, like, good thing to have woven into the show. It wasn't very obvious at first, but now when I look back, it is very obvious. And then we go back to Sokka being stuck in the ground. His adorable little cow hippo friend thing perched happily on his head, sort of like, grooming itself and having a great time. Sokka pleading to whatever higher power exists. It's like, I'll give up meat if you just let me free. The hippo little guy runs off and comes back with an apple, dropping it just out of Sokka's reach. Sokka manages to free his boomerang, and it lands on the ground and gives us another funny line. Now come back, boomerang! Like, you can see Sokka is just getting so, like, tired of the situation, and he's just like, come on, give me a break here. And I am just loving that moment. Like, it is so great. And then we go on to Katara and Aang, like, sort of practicing a little waterbending in a reed pond. Katara, like, this seems more like a simple exercise. Like, they're kind of meditating while passing water back and forth. And this is where Katara, like, points out to Aang that, yeah, earth and air are opposites. She understands that he's having trouble with Earth right now, but she knows that if he faces it, if he does his best, he will overcome the challenge. She believes in him, and that really, like, I love seeing, like, Aang's face in this moment. Like, he's really getting it. He's like, huh, you're right. Like, I admit I'm getting frustrated, but when you put it that way, when you say, like, you understand why it's so hard for me and, like, reassure me, it becomes so much easier to face. I've had problems like that throughout my life, too. Like, I sometimes struggle with depression pretty heavily, and sometimes all you need is someone to say, I know you're having trouble. I'm here, and I believe in you. And that is just so powerful. Then we get a great philosophy lesson from Iroh, explaining like the essence of each of the 4 nations of the world, how their elements influence them. And if you want to hear his full speech, I strongly encourage you to check out the episode, because it is a great like overview of what the 4 tribes and their elements sort of embody. Iroh explains the purpose of his lesson pretty well too, that it's important to take wisdom from many places. If you take it from only one place, you become rigid and stale. But by understanding the other elements and nations, you can become more whole and more powerful. And this isn't just for the Avatar. Everyone can benefit from this strength, from this wholeness. Iroh even explains that the defensive technique he wants to teach Zuko came from studying waterbenders. And then we return to Toph antagonizing Aang, trying to get him to stand firm against her instead of his usual dodging, running away, or flowing around. And this is the point where they finally realize that Sokka is missing. Aang and Katara split up to find him, and Toph sort of vanishes. We return, they find, or at least Aang finds Sokka in short order, and, you know, the little horse donkey hippo thing is tugging on his ponytail, trying to pull Sokka out. I love how this thing is essentially bonded with him. It's like, he's like, friend, and it is adorable. Like, this creature is so damn adorable. And, you know, it's Sokka asks Aang to earthbend him out, and, you know, Aang with his self-confidence running low basically goes, I can't do it. And we find out that Sokka's fluffy friend is a baby saber-toothed moose lion cub. That is an awesome combo. Like, damn. It's a bit long, but so, like, I think I'm just going to refer to them as saber-toothed mooses from now on. But I just love that they're, like, that this is, like, I mean, I didn't see it earlier. I've been saying this whole review, for the longest time, I thought it was, like, some kind of, like, hippo, horse, donkey thing. But no, apparently it's a saber-toothed moose lion, and that is just awesome. And I also love Sokka's name for it, Fufu Cuddly Boops. It's at this moment that Mama shows up, and she is pissed. I mean, it makes sense, you know, mothers in the wild are going to be protective of their cubs. And then, like, at this moment, to keep the, you know, tension high, we switch right back to Iroh, explaining how waterbenders taught him how to redirect energy. He talks about, like, you know, the path for redirecting lightning through your body, like, down your hand, through your stomach, and out the other arm. And, like, going back to real-world science, he says, you know, it's like, do not let the energy hit your heart. Which, you know, makes perfect sense, because electricity and hearts do not mix. Like, they really don't. And Zuko, like, masters the move in fairly short order. They do get a bit of a montage, but it's definitely less than the full day. And he decides, like, you know, I'm gonna go practice real lightning because Iroh is unwilling to just blast him, and of course he isn't. Iroh doesn't want to risk hurting Zuko, and if he hasn't mastered the move, then there's a significant chance of killing him, you know? Like, you both see Zuko's determination become stronger, and Iroh going, look, I want you to become stronger, but I cannot risk hurting you. You mean too much to me. And then we're right back to Aang and the saber-toothed moose. He keeps redirecting it with airbending, dodging around it, basically not seeming like much of a threat, because he's acting like a scared little animal dodging around its attacks, and, you know, the moose thing is determined to hurt him, Sokka, or both of them. And finally, though, Aang stands his ground against the beast and drives it back. And, you know, the moose is like, well, okay, this is not worth it. I'm getting out of here. And this is like, he finds what he was missing there. He stands up to Toph, and in short order, he figures out, like, the trick to earthbending. Managing to move a rock, and, like, Toph frees Sokka because, you know, Aang's figured it out, but not that well. And, like, it's at this point, like, Toph compliments him and, you know, says, like, there, see? By standing your ground, you are more powerful. And, like, it's a good moment, and really, like Toph, I like Toph's tough love methods, but she does know when to compliment him. Like, you know, he's like, he got it, so she told him, yeah, you're doing good. And we end on both, like, a sad note and a happy note. Like, Aang's group, like, you know, he's standing in front of Appa being like, yep, the secret is to be unmovable, both mental and physically. And then Appa licks him and he hits the ground like nothing. hilarious moment. And then we switch right to Zuko on a mountaintop, screaming at a storm to give him its best, expressing his rage and sorrow in his heart after all that's happened to him lately. So powerful. Anyhow, that was what I watched today, and I hope you all have a great night.